So, is chronic pain, is it in your head? And I'm doing this because I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and a guest on this podcast was someone who is a pain psychologist. And she was basically saying that pain is in our heads and talking about people that are sufferers, chronic pain sufferers. And I'm one of those as well. I'm a chronic pain sufferer as well. Although I don't like to say that I'm a chronic pain sufferer. Like, I do suffer with pain, and I do suffer with pain every day. I hate using the word chronic, you see. So yeah. So she was talking to me, and if you are listening as, inverted commas, a chronic pain sufferer, she's talking to you as well. And I like to look at comments. So as she was speaking, I was looking at the comments, and there were people, with all types of conditions, people with fibromyalgia. There was one particular comment, and I think I only kind of was very focused on this particular comment because this person was suffering with the same disease that I'm suffering with, which is spinal stenosis. And this person basically said, no, you can't tell me that my pain is in my head. I have, spinal stenosis and blah, 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 and was quite vocal about it. And I could understand what this person was saying in the comments. And I've spoken quite a bit about pain being in your head, and I've been having physical therapy, physio, for some months, and the physical therapist had said, we've got to train your brain because a lot of this issues is in your head. And I totally agreed with her. But then I also thought about other people that maybe she said these words to and just thought, oh my gosh, I'm sure there's probably a better way of saying things. But these people must leave like that appointment feeling just really like, I don't know, feeling just so bad because, they're made to believe that the pain is in their heads. And I think if things could just be worded a little bit differently, then maybe they'd understand that it's not in their heads, but it is in their heads. And the only reason why I am saying is because, I've been practicing yoga for a long time. I've taught many people when it comes to yoga, and I've seen the differences, and I've felt the differences personally when I can sort of train my brain to behave in a different way so that I'm not experiencing pain so severely. And I think that is kind of the message that needs to be put out there. So whilst listening to this pain psychologist, I 100% agree with her. I do, but I don't. Okay. So I think she was kind of like going in the direction where, there's people that have had MRIs, they may have had scans, and they're experiencing a lot of pain, and there's no explanation why they are experiencing this pain. And in some ways, I'm in a way fitting into this sort of category because I have spinal stenosis. It's a moderate stenosis, but there are some discs that are not so good. So I have, if you're experiencing issues with discs, you probably know what I'm talking about. But if you're not, don't worry. But I'm going to be talking about certain discs. So for me, I have discs in my neck that possibly may need to be operated on. I've been told. I don't really want to go down that direction, but I've been told possibly in the future, because with spinal stenosis it gets worse. It doesn't get better as such because it's kind of arthritis, it's growths, and it's bulging, and so it's probably not going to get any better. But my disc at L5S1, which is right at the bottom, which I think is the one that causes me a lot of issues, there's this debate where some are saying, oh yeah, that probably could be operated on, but the spinal team have said no, that doesn't need to be operated on. And we don't quite understand why you're experiencing so much pain. Whereas I will go to a GP, and the GP looks at the MRI and they're like, oh my God, this looks dreadful. And I understand they're not specialists, but they are generalists. But I'm sure they see a lot of MRIs, and they look at my MRI and they're like, oh my God, this is a really bad case. Whereas the spinal team are like, oh no, we see this all the time. Like, we don't understand why you're in so much pain. So I'm in this limbo, and I'm kind of being told that you have a pain condition. You do have spinal stenosis, but you have a pain condition because from what we see on your MRI, you should not be experiencing this amount of pain. And so in some ways, they're telling me the pain is in your head. Okay. And so I could see that for a lot of people that are possibly have pain conditions such as fibromyalgia, and I think maybe I'm sitting in that as well. No, it's not uncommon that people with spinal stenosis can also experience other issues such as fibromyalgia, and it's possible that the spinal stenosis is probably the cause of maybe the possibly the cause of the fibromyalgia, because the brain becomes very sensitive, because the brain is trying to protect the spine in my case, or if people have arthritis, let's say, the brain is trying to protect the knee that has arthritis, and so it's pushing out all of these kind of chemicals in the body to protect the knee. But whilst it's doing so, your body becomes very sensitive, and so then you're experiencing an increase in pain in other areas of the body. So in my case, and in other people's cases, that's possibly what's going on, and that could be a cause of some sort of pain condition like fibromyalgia. So totally get that. And so for me, my body, my brain is doing things to protect my spine. So my spinal stenosis is in my neck and in my lower back, and I do tend to have a lot of pain in those areas, but then that pain can spread across my shoulders. I also have TMJ, which I've been told it's because of the neck, but it's a debate again, because some people say no, the TMJ is nothing to do with the neck, but then others are saying, oh yeah, it's because of the neck, that's why you have TMJ. And so I have issues with this like trigeminal nerve, where I get shooting pains in my face, and kind of like discomfort around my jawline into my teeth. And so that can happen as well around stress. So if I'm feeling particularly stressed out, or I've not got very much sleep, then I do tend to find that I'll get increased pain. And again, that could be to do with the brain as well. So a lot of things on this podcast was like recommending things like meditation, and I'm a big fan of meditation. Obviously, I've been doing yoga for over 20 years, and I've taught yoga and taught meditation and taught breath work. I'm a huge fan of it. And for me, in this last, I would say 18 months, where things have been particularly painful with my disease, meditation has been the thing that I've been kind of hanging on to. My physical yoga practice, I've not really been able to do it as I used to be able to do it, but I can always rely on breath work and always rely on meditation. And so I think there's this thing in like the chronic pain, kind of like when I see comments about people who have like my condition and sort of fibromyalgia, where it can be where, oh, for the love of God, please stop recommending yoga. I've tried yoga and yoga doesn't work. And in some ways I'm in agreement with that. I think if we're doing the wrong things for our body at a particular point in time, yoga probably wouldn't work. So if you are going to maybe a group class doing yoga and you have certain issues when it comes to pain and muscles and stuff going on with certain joints, then it might be that pain is going to be even worse. You might be sparking more pain, because you're not really targeting the areas that need to be targeted. Got to be very gentle with things. And so an hour yoga class, for instance, is probably not what you're needing. For me, I have to do 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, because I know I can't do it an hour. And it's so disappointing, really, and frustrating, because for many years I've had this like 90-minute, sometimes 2-hour a day yoga practice, and so like I know that I can physically do it, but what it does to me, it's not good. It's not good at all. And so 5 minutes, I've had to resort to that. 5-10 minutes, doing little short bursts throughout the day. That's better for me than trying to force my body into this, because then it's like brain overload. Like, what's going on? Muscles are doing all of this. Oh my God, we've got to protect. This is the brain talking now. So my brain's talking and said, oh my God, we've got to protect Cheryl. Oh my gosh, what's happened to her muscles? What's going on with this? And so it's producing all of these chemicals because it's trying to help me. And bang, I'm in pain. I'm in more pain. And that is kind of what this doctor is kind of saying. So I totally understand that. But then there are times, for instance, yesterday, not a good day pain-wise, dreadful day. And the day before that, fantastic day. So what do I do when it's a fantastic day? I start doing loads of things, and I start cleaning the house, and I start doing all this housework, because my body's like, wow, it feels great. Because there's days when I don't have any pain whatsoever, and it's like, oh my God, I'm cured. That's how it feels, this thing has gone, it's disappeared. And so when I have days like that, and that's me having to train myself as well, because it is very difficult to do that. But when you have days like that, you feel like you can go and do a marathon. It's like, I can run 26 miles. It feels like that. but then you're hit with all of this pain. And I think that's a certain part really that I wish was in this podcast. I'll put a link to this podcast, but that's a part that I think needs to be included in some of these things to make people realize like what's going on, because a lot of these podcasts, and I've listened to a few where they talk about, and I know it's like clickbait to get people to click onto things, but it's saying, is your pain in your head? And it just makes you feel like, oh no, are you trying to say that I'm making this up? Like this isn't true. I'm lying. And I can understand a lot of people are possibly feeling like that when we're not lying. It's definitely there. But another thing, like yesterday, because the day before that, like I said, fantastic day, and I decided to do all this housework. Was feeling absolutely fantastic, and then went shopping, food shopping with my daughter, who she was helping me, and I just tried to move a bag, and as I moved that bag in my neck, I can feel like something's tightening up, but I can feel it feels like bone, and I can feel that in my lower back, and I know that that is the stenosis. I can feel that. I'm very in tune with my body. I've practiced yoga for a long time, and in fact possibly too tuned into my body, which I keep being told that by physical therapists, because they say that, they've been saying to me, you're very in tune with your body, and I'm like, yeah, I know I am. So because of that, believe me when I'm telling you that I'm in pain, and believe me when I'm telling you that there is an issue with my neck, there is an issue with my lower back. And so it's not to say that that is not there, but it's definitely there, yeah. And I understand, because when I'm stressed out, my pain does increase. When I'm not had very much sleep, yes, I'm in agreement, my pain does increase. And this is where she was talking about the psychosomatic sort of things. And psychosomatic, psycho meaning your mind, the brain, somatic, your body, what's going on with your body. And it's about linking these things together. And so I totally agree that there is this link with the brain and the body, and we have to do things to tell our brain, and it's continuously telling our brain, we're safe, don't need your help at the moment, thank you very much, because I'm good. And there's a lot of things that play into that. As a chronic illness sufferer, and it may have been, if you're in my situation, where you may have been doing a job for many years, and the disease or whatever you're experiencing now has meant that you can't work anymore. And so it might be that you're kind of mourning the life that you once had. I've been through that in these last 18 months, mourning, what I used to have, and now because of this condition, it's kind of put me out. And so then that's the anxiety side of things start creeping in. The depression as well about that, mourning what you used to have, and then the anxiety about what the future is going to hold for you. And it's very difficult to switch that off. It's difficult to switch that off when you're in pain, because the pain is the reminder. And so that is kind of like, the psychological side of things, and how that then impacts on your pain. Because if you're always thinking about, your condition and what you've lost, or what the future is going to be holding for you, then it's very difficult to switch that off. Very difficult. And the ways that we can switch those things off is by doing things like breath work, is by doing things like activities, like try and get out the house. The house, it's difficult because you're in pain. Yeah, you need, there's days when you're laid up. Yesterday was not a great day for me. I tried to get out yesterday, but spent the afternoon and evening in bed. I did. And sorry, I'm not going to try and move when I'm in pain. I'm in a lot of pain, so this calls for the bed. I'm sorry, I need to lie down. And it's okay if you need that. Don't feel guilty about that. But then the next day, pick yourself back up and try and get out and do something. Try and get out and move. Try and get out in nature. Try and get daylight, because it can be so easy to just be in this trap. So easy. And again, that's what this docs is trying to address. And I really do agree with what she was saying. I do totally agree. But I do think it can come across for a lot of people that are experiencing pain, that they're just saying that it's in my head. And I think one comment that I saw was, well, it's okay for this woman to say this, because I bet she's not living with chronic pain. And I do think when you are living with chronic pain, it does put a bit of a different spin on things. Look, I taught yoga for a lot of years. I had my own yoga studio. Had people coming to me classes. I had a lot of people that I would teach privately, because I said to them, I don't think you should come into my group classes. It's not going to be suitable for you. Let me just let me just teach you one-on-one. And the results were huge, huge results that we saw from that. And even though I experienced issues with chronic illnesses, I'm diagnosed with 2 other chronic illnesses, but I've never experienced this sort of like chronic pain, like muscular pain. Never experienced that. Not to the levels that I have now, that I've got going on now. Could never understand it. And so, I think sometimes you might have like studied some of these things. I've had to study anatomy, and I understand about anatomy and how the body works. And so it can be very quick to judge things by what you've studied in the textbooks, and then you put out that when you have clients and students. But for me now, because I've actually experienced it, I didn't really understand how anxiety works. When I had all these people coming to me for yoga, and a lot of them would come because they've got experiencing issues with anxiety and depression. But anxiety, that word anxiety, I knew what I could do to help them when it comes to certain practices, breath work, meditation. I really did not understand what people were experiencing. When people said to me they were having like these panic attacks, and then they'd come back and said, oh my gosh, Cheryl, I've been using your breath work and I'm not having panic attacks anymore. And in my head I'm thinking, oh wow, okay, that's fantastic, but I've never experienced a panic attack, so I don't really know like how they can do that, even though I know that the practices to give them. Well, now I do know. Now I do know what chronic pain feels like. I get that. And so I feel I can come from a different stance now, because I understand what these people are talking about. And so yeah, just saying that pain is in our heads as such, and explaining the whole processes when it comes to the brain, yeah, totally get that, totally understand that. Yeah, it is what we're doing and how we're influencing it. And there are things that we can do when it comes to yoga, or CBT and mindfulness. And sometimes as well, you have to want to do these things. Sorry, talking so much about this, but it really did trigger me. There's a part as well when it comes to all of this, is about having the mind, a different mindset, positive mindset. For me, I've been able to manage 2 other chronic diseases, and so in my head, this spinal stenosis, it's not getting me. This thing is, I have got that positivity there, that I will fight this thing, and I'm on some groups for spinal stenosis, and one that triggered me, a post, and it comes up a lot, is about having one of these rollers. So I don't know if you know what one of those are, but it's one of these, and I understand that there's people that are at the stage where they have to have one of these things because they can't walk without it. So totally get it. And look, for me, there's days when I have to have a stick. I walk with a stick. Today, though, even though I'm in pain, I've had to say to myself, Cheryl, come on, don't have the stick, don't rely on it, so I'm trying to not walk with a stick today. But if the pain gets so intense, then yeah, I get my stick and I walk with the stick. Yeah, I do. But I don't want to get to the stage where I'm going to have to use a walker. I do not want to get there. And so I have this mindset that is not going to be me, and I'm going to change that. So when it comes to mindfulness, you've got to want it. When it comes to having a positive attitude about things, like, you've got to really feel it. You've got to really feel it. And I think for some people, they're possibly not quite there. But then, because you're in so much pain, it can be it's not very easy to be positive. It's not at all. So let me wrap this up. So basically, I was listening to this thing. I was in a lot of pain, and the pain, it was there. I know what caused the pain, and it was me being too physical. So that is not in my head. I know what I'm doing that's causing that. But in saying that, my muscles do things to protect my spine. And so because my muscles are so tense, for instance, if I'm trying to pick something up which is a little bit too heavy, yeah, the muscles do go crazy because it's trying to protect my spine. So I do need to do things to try and relax those muscles. And so that is then when these practices, such as breath work, that's when those practices come into play to try and relax those muscles. And that is involving the brain. That's where we need to tap into the brain, do these things where we can just remove like what's going on at the present moment, remove that pain, tell our brain that we're okay, we're safe, please relax my muscles, please relax everything, because I don't need your help. So I do understand there's that part there, but I think we do need to be tactful when we're talking about people who are experiencing this pain, because it is there, and there are things that are triggering these things. And you know, we've got to have these practices or do these things to try and calm that down. But at the end of the day, these things are there and we mustn't dismiss that. I do have spinal stenosis. It is there and it will get worse. And you know, it may be that the only thing that's going to help will be to replace those discs. If you have arthritis in your knee, yeah, it's there. And it might be that the only thing that's going to help that arthritis in your knee is to replace it. Yeah, so I just don't like it when it's kind of dismissed that everything is in your brain, because it is, but it isn't as well. Right, let's finish up there. Anyway, have a fantastic day. Just wanted to get that off my chest because, yeah, I see these comments and I understand these comments as somebody in their boat experiencing issues with chronic pain. But on the other side, you know, I understand that we can do a lot of this stuff and study anatomy and blah, 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 blah. And it can be so like black and white. This is what it is. But I think we need to see the other side of things as well. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. Have a lovely day in chronic pain. And take care. Okay. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye. Hello, Cheryl here. Right. So I have a newsletter called Cheryl Shares. And with my newsletter, I talk about the ups and downs of living with a chronic illness. And then my background also is that I'm trained as a nutritional therapist and a yoga teacher. So in the newsletter, I will also talk about the benefits of vitamins and minerals and foods and certain diets. I'll also talk about the ups and downs of having a chronic illness, because I'm diagnosed with 3 of them. And so I understand the ups and downs, the battles of living with a chronic illness, and the kind of the messages that we have to give ourselves to motivate us to keep going. You know, it can be quite easy to kind of like be sitting back and not doing things and letting our conditions kind of take over. So this is about motivating you to get moving and to be doing things, and to not let these things rule us. We don't want to be ruled by chronic illness. So if you are interested in my newsletter, if you go into the description area, click on the link and then come and join me. Okay, so you take care.